Igniting, inspiring, and evoking the fire within.
The other thing is you need to believe in yourself that you can borrow with dignity and that you're worthy of whatever it is that you're borrowing, because everyone knows that there's no such thing as an original song. There's no such thing as a completely original song.
I'll follow you wherever you go. Would you do that for me? Are you ever gonna set me free? Magna child, try to keep the good ones wild. Magna child, ooh, Magna child.
You're listening to the What's Your Inspiration podcast with Foxfire.
Hello and welcome to episode 69 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. Today, again, a very special guest. His name is Jack Kane. Jack grew up in a small town in South New Jersey. The brother of two younger sisters, he's been blessed with a bilingual education, graduating from Brown with a degree in comparative literature in 2018. His talents include theology, philosophy, poetry, and songwriting. He has played in two bands and now writes songs, performs solo in Central Jersey and New York. Jack, how are you today?
Thanks for having me, Fox. I'm great. How are you?
As I always say, I'm better than I deserve. Better than I deserve. Better than I deserve. I can go a lot of places. Jack and I met. What now? Probably back in November
That's
at
right.
at an open mic in Westfield, New Jersey, at a coffee shop named Boxwood, where Jack and I performed. Me, only spoken word, but Jack performed his talents with the guitar on the mic at Boxwood. We connected again just last month, and I thought, after you performed, man, he'd be a solid guest. You
I
gave
appreciate that.
you gave me your Instagram, and I said let me reach out, and you responded right away.
Well,
So
I
here
think
we are. You're a man. There's a book out there called Range, and it's about people with a wide range of talents. And without knowing you great, I do believe that to be true.
thank
Is
you.
that true, Jack?
Put me on the spot. Well, no, I think I have a few specialized talents that I've spent many years cultivating. Range is a word that scares me because I've always related with the phrase "jack of all trades, master of none." But it wasn't until recently that I learned the second half of that phrase, which is still better than a master of one. So I count myself lucky to have, or blessed, I should say, to have a few talents that I have cultivated, and they're pretty close in what am I trying to say? They're pretty close in similarity. Linguistics and music, I think, are very they work the same muscles in the brain and in the body. They take a lot of patience, and they take a lot of study and alone time and just focus. And I think my real superpower is focus, because once I can get into something, I'm tenacious and I won't let it go. So if that's a song that I'm interested in learning, but the opposite is also true, where if something doesn't interest me, I'll just kind of kick it to the side. But yeah, it's funny. I was going to say like attracts like, and I think you recognize as like, and I think you and I kind of are compelled by the same forces of and it's not music, for you per se, but like I told you, you remind me of this French spoken word artist named GCP and Grand Corps Malade, or GCM, Grand Corps Malade, and he's got a spoken word flow that really encapsulates a sort of musical dynamic, and I appreciate that about spoken word. I've always liked poetry and slam poetry, and when it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's really bad.
It's a thin line
Yeah.
that we walk. Thank you for comparing uh, me to him. I'm probably nowhere in his league. But yeah, so what Jack is referring to at this open mic, he did a couple of songs, and I did what, a 2 or 3 minutes spoken word a few months
I wish you
back.
had done longer.
Wish, yeah. Sometimes when that gets long, but again, you can go to the other side, like you just referred to. Is there's that thin line.
You
So
can say a lot with a little, I think.
yes, I try to leave when I'm on top or hot. In other words, or so to speak. Jack, you referred to in some pre-interview questions as music is art ground zero. So let's go to art ground zero for you. Do you recall the first song that you wrote?
Oh, I do. I recall it was two chords, and I later learned that they were the chords from Plush by Stone Temple Pilots, but
Oh,
I figured them out by myself.
great
And
song.
I thought that was the coolest thing ever until I learned that it was another song. The first real song that I wrote and I put together is called Give and Take, and it's on YouTube. My band performed it in high school. We were called Pre-Generation. And I have a guitar solo in that song, and I thought I was pretty special when I played that in front of the school. But I had a lot to learn on the instrument and on songwriting, and that was kind of like a hard rock and Pearl Jam or Stone Temple Pilots type of song. And I've really moved more into like the Elvis Costello, James Taylor type of people, even Peter, Paul, and Mary are now my main influence. But yes, I do kind of remember starting off in songwriting. And I guess before that, even there was another song that is also on YouTube that's called Undecided. And that was, I wrote that when I was a junior in high school.
It's a heck of a journey, right? Songwriting itself.
It is
What
hard.
what is the most difficult, most challenging thing about songwriting to you, and the most exciting thing about songwriting to you?
Oh, great questions. Challenging. So believing in yourself. You have a concept, or so what I have two main approaches for songwriting. One is kind of the spaghetti on the wall tactic. And that is, I'll just be standing at the kitchen sink doing dishes and I'll just start singing. And it could be, anything like the other day I wrote a song just on this little this little melody that I had. And I realized later that it came from another song. So the other thing is, you need to believe in yourself that you can borrow with dignity and that you're worthy of whatever it is that you're borrowing, because everyone knows that there's no such thing as an original song. There's no such thing as a completely original song. In other words, a song will always sound or borrow from another song because we don't live in a vacuum. So the first thing is just to have confidence that whatever you're thinking about is actually worthy of being a song, because then you'll allow yourself to sit down and write it. But the second thing is that it takes focus, is that it's really fleeting. And whenever I've had this happen to me 3 times now, and I'll wake up in the morning in like that twilight area between sleep and wakefulness, and I'll have a melody or a chord progression or just 2 lines of a song in my head. And it's happened before that in spite of myself, I've gone back to sleep, or and then I just forget it flies away. But these 3 times that it's come to me recently, I've had the presence of mind to pull out my phone and just like sing this, like,
You hum the melody?
yeah, and then you can work from that, and that becomes a song. And so on one hand it's faith, and on another hand it's focus, I would say.
I like that. The two F's, faith and focus.
Yeah,
What advice do you have for beginning songwriters?
I guess learn a lot of songs, and they don't have to be your own songs. But for me, I only write songs because I know what a song sounds like, and I want to contribute to that world, and I think like a lot of times in college, especially when I was lonely or depressed, I would put on a record, and I would just feel like that musician was there in my room. So I had a Stephen Stills record that my sister got me that I would play on repeat, and a John Coltrane record too, and I would play those on repeat. And I guess what I started to learn was that there are just these like little things that like a musician will do, and they're so easy. Like you learn them when you're like just picking up the instrument, and it's like John Coltrane, or like Stephen Stills will do like just like a 1 to a 4 to a dominant 7 to the 4, and that's the entire song, and that's Johnny's Garden. But it's what it's about for me is, and I wrote this down, is like every good song tells a story. So the moment you feel like you have a story to tell, that's when you need to you recognize that, and then you don't discount it as like, oh yeah, well, but everybody has a story to tell, and like my story couldn't be that important, could it? Yes, it could. You need to tell that story. So yeah, that's, I'd say the most important thing for someone who wants to start writing songs is I mean, it's going to sound cheesy, but believe in your story. Like, believe that you have something worth saying. And I mean, you might write a song where it's just like there's no like story there, and I've written plenty of those songs, trust me. And if you have good friends, they'll tell you that those songs don't really stir anything in them. But give it time and keep writing songs, and you'll eventually hit that, you know, pater, excuse me, where something will start to turn and the gear will mesh with another gear.
Yeah, there's an expression in Nashville. They say, "Dare to suck," right? You're gonna write some songs that aren't all that solid, but again, tell the truth. If you tell the truth, it cannot be denied in the song.
Well, you know, I mean, that's so funny because I was on YouTube, and there was this guy, and there was somebody spoofing on country music, and you know, she's just like in this, you know, making fun of it, beer, truck, America, and the guy's like, that sounds like a good song, and he writes it, and he goes, beer, truck, America, and he goes, white tail deer buck, this is what I mean, or something. And it was just like, whoa, that was epic, because he just told me a story in 4 words.
Yeah, exactly. If you think of a lot of songs, there's space, right? They're not as they're not
Exactly.
real wordy. They're not
Exactly.
real wordy. If you can do it more in less words, you have a special talent, which obviously you have, and we're going to get
Thank
to
you.
that after we
Yeah,
play a game called What, Which, and Where.
love it.
So, Jack, the way this goes is I'm going to read you a quote. It could be a line from a book, a movie, a song, and you can
Okay.
see if you can tell me from where it came. It could be the artist, the author, the movie, or the book itself.
I'm a Quiz Bowl champion. Let's go.
Okay, he's ready. I like that. I like that. That's a rare attitude on this podcast. Most are a little apprehensive. You,
No,
however,
bring it on.
are not.
I'm
All right.
training for Jeopardy.
I like it. I like it. The quote goes like this: "If you can't make fun of yourself, you're missing the best joke of the day."
I think that's Einstein, isn't it? No. Okay, wait. Gosh,
It
I know
goes,
this.
someone that was born in the 20th century and is still alive today.
You can't make fun of yourself. You're missing the best joke. How does it go?
If you can't make fun of yourself, you're missing the best joke of the day. And it may have well been Einstein, but
Huh.
I know it as someone else a bit more contemporary.
That's a good quote. I love that quote. My first instinct was Dr. Seuss. Obviously, he's no longer living.
This man is alive.
This man is alive. Somebody who is it? Okay, this is out of left field, but is it Jim Carrey? It's a musician. Wait.
You're in the right ballpark. He is in film. He's an actor by trade.
Okay. Hmm. Bill Murray. No.
I'd say a little bit closer. He might have been in. He might have crossed paths with Bill Murray in a film, maybe. I'll give you one more guess.
Okay. Oh man, I'm really not living up to the hype here.
I mean, they might have very well said this at some point in their life. I'm
Sure,
sure they did.
sure.
I'm sure they have.
Best joke of the day. Oh man. Why don't I think about these things more often?
That's kind of a very random question.
Yeah.
As Charlie Sheen.
Oh, dang, that's a good one.
Hmm.
I like have a strange affinity for Charlie Sheen. I don't, I think he's one of us.
Explain.
I just think when I was in high school, I remember on the school bus, someone was talking about the Tiger Blood interview,
Yes,
and I think there was something going on there that wasn't really that everyone was missing, and I've had brushes with addiction, and I don't want to talk for him, but it seems like he was in a really dark place, and
sure. And
and
that's
I
where I
think
heard that. That's where I heard him say what we just quoted. So I thought,
and
wow,
that's a great interview because he really just lets it fly.
he
I
is.
wish more people gave interviews like that.
Yeah, he's extremely transparent.
Yeah.
Um, what role has humor played in your life? How have you used it as a weapon?
That's a great question. I think when people say God has a great sense of humor, I think a lot of times they're getting wrong is that he doesn't use it to our I don't think he uses it to our detriment. He uses it to our benefit. And so for me, humor in its best compares you to someone who you strive to be. So you can take this with as big a grain of salt as you'd like, but I was listening to an interview of a near death experience, and he had been to heaven and seen Father God, and he said, in heaven you can do anything. You can even be a carpenter, like my son. And so this guy kind of took that as like a kind of pat on the back slash a wink and a nod from God. And so, like I said, it builds you up into someone who you aspire to be. For me, humor is um is the difference between, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Substitute, which
I
is like
haven't. I
yeah,
haven't.
it's like a real nitty gritty, like takes place in Miami, and there's this guy, he's a CIA agent, and he goes undercover at a school, and he becomes a substitute teacher, and he has to like win the hearts of the kids. And then there's Jack Black in School of Rock. And so I think humor a lot of times for me comes from comparison, but you don't compare with the intent on highlighting anybody's deficiencies. You compare with the intent of highlighting the meaningfulness of diversity and difference, and where we're diverse is where we're most alike a lot of times. So these two different movies have the exact same plot, but you could not imagine two more different movies, and I think that's hilarious. Like things like that really make me laugh.
Hmm.
And
Things that mirror each other that the
right,
naked eye initially we wouldn't think so.
right.
Cool. Good, good stuff. Good stuff. Humor as a weapon. Episode 69 here on the What's Your Inspiration podcast. Jack, it is time to grab your axe.
Okay, well, I
And
have it right
Jack's going to
here.
perform a song, possibly multiple songs here
I,
on the podcast. As you get ready,
mhm.
Jack, please explain and talk to us a little bit about your first number.
Okay, so this first number is called Magna Child, and has a little story behind it. A
You
couple
said Magnet
stories.
Child?
So Magna Child, and it's
Oh,
going to be the
Magda.
name of my first EP.
Okay.
So the kind of dedication to this song is a dedication to a younger me. And I was thinking when I was warming up here, there was a moment in my life that I wish I could put my arm around younger me's shoulder and just tell him everything's going to be okay, which was when I was at graduation at college. And college was tough for me. I never really got the memo about what I was supposed to do before, during, or after. And I never felt prepared. And this kind of underlined the whole thing, which was that at graduation, they asked everyone who had made magna cum laude to stand up. And I thought that that was the same as with honors. Anyway, so I stood up, and I kind of felt like I had egg on my face after that, but it didn't really matter. So what I just tried to say with this song is, just keep being yourself, and don't worry about making mistakes, because mistakes only make you, if you don't dwell on them, they can teach you a lot about yourself. So this is called Magna Child, and this is another one that came to me in a dream.
Magna Child, try to keep the good ones wild. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child. Magna Child, fell in love with you when you smiled. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child. We were in the parade, and everyone had something to say. Nobody knew it was only me and you. Magna Child, fell in love with you when you smiled. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child. Magna Child, one look and you drove me wild. Magna Child, whoa, Magna Child. Keep on your toes, I'll follow you wherever you go. Would you do that for me? Are you ever gonna set me free? Magna Child, try to keep the good ones wild. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child. Magna Child, fell in love with you when you smiled. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child. Then I saw you walk in, hugged you and I gave you a grin, but you couldn't be cool. You had to go and make a fool of me and you. Magna Child, try to keep the good ones wild. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child. Magna Child, fell in love with you when you smiled. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child. It's a season to grow. Bear your fruit, you're gonna reap what you sow. What'll it be? Like your peaches wanna shake your tree. Magna Child, try to keep the good ones wild. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child. Magna Child, fell in love with you when you smiled. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child. Magna Child, ooh, Magna Child.
Jack Kane with a note to his former self. Magna Child was reviewing a book called 11 Rings, written by Phil Jackson, former NBA coach and front office executive and player. There's a quote in that book that reads something like this: forget mistakes, forget failures. Today is your lucky day. What a great homage to your former self. You familiar with the band James from the 1990s?
Not at all.
Okay, that sounds a lot like it's one of their albums from the 90s. I love it. I love it. I love the idea from the song, and of course, this word in music, proxity. So it sounds like there's a connection between the words the concept and the melody itself. So awesome job. Kudos to
Thank
you,
you.
Jack,
Thank you so
with
much.
Magna Child. Would you be interested in playing another song?
Yeah, I could play another song. Yeah.
And I mean, we'd
I'll give you a yeah.
we
It's like
we'd love it. We discussed, audience. We discussed the possibility of this before
yeah.
we began the recording, and I think you're pretty warm to it. We like it, and if you haven't performed Magna Child out, you need to do that.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever performed that one. This one I've performed a couple times, and it was actually the first song that I've ever had come to me in a dream, that I've ever written, that I've ever been proud of, I should say. So this is called Jerry's song. I changed it. It's on Spotify's Gerald's song, but I think Jerry sounds better. And it's an homage to my dad, and I can't explain why exactly, but I lost my grandfather this year, and it was a tough blow because I'd never lost anyone that close to me before. So I think I processed it through just this rumination on leaving and heaven and departure and staying. Anyway, I'll play it for you. This is called Jerry's song. If I leave this place behind, would you still remember me? Would you write a song or shed a tear? If I leave tomorrow for today's simple melody, it's all that I would really want to hear. On the light of every fountain, sing it on the footfalls of the breeze. You're my every melody, the sun that wakes the day, the whistle of the wind blown tree. If you wake and find me gone, would you share your love with me? Sail it down the river to my door. If you wake and find me gone, would you climb a tall, tall tree? Shout out all your love forevermore. My every melody, fog that lifts away, the sound of loved ones calling from far. Time to leave this place behind. Please don't make me stay. Just smile to the sky and count the stars. I will be your daddy boy if you be made tall. 'Cause you're my treasured melody, the song that wakes the day, the home of loved ones gathered from afar. I will find this world alone if you will wait for me in heaven where you're shining like a star. I'll abide this world alone if you will wait for me in heaven where you're shining like a star.
smile to the sky and count the stars. To all the Jerrys out there, to all the grandfathers out there, that's Jerry's song. I mean, a great homage to your grandfather, and I think a lot of people will connect with that. Good stuff. You played really, really well. I don't know if you realize that, but you're coming in great, great on my end. As we wrap up our conversation today, Jack, we know all heroes don't wear a cape, but if you had the opportunity to take a 1-hour car ride with one of the following three people, who would it be and why? Would it be William Shakespeare? Would it be Hopkins from what's the name of Anthony Hopkins? Anthony Hopkins, or would it be Tom Petty?
Oh, Tom Petty, obviously.
For what obvious reasons?
Oh, I mean, right. Those were three. I mean, I was considering each one very, very carefully until you said Tom Petty, because in my estimation, and I'm glad you finished with this question because it was a really easy one for me, but Tom Petty has made some of the best driving music of all time. And if you ever put on Running Down a Dream in the car and follow that up with Wildflowers, I guarantee you'll have to pull over to the side of the road and start bawling like a child.
Yeah,
because that's the best type of music for when you're driving. But no, that's a name I should have mentioned earlier, was Tom Petty. It was just such an amazing songwriter. Last Dance with Mary Jane. I mean, I remember when I saw the Foo Fighters in probably 2010, they closed with that song, I want to say, and then they took a helicopter off to the late night David Letterman show, and it was still on the air. And it was amazing. And that's the thing that I remember most out of that whole concert. I know Dave Grohl played the drums on one song. I know they had a sticker of Freddie Mercury on the bass drum, but what I remember is Last Dance with Mary Jane. So, yeah, and that's one of those guys that I didn't grow up with. Anthony Hopkins is just amazing, but I'm not an actor. And Shakespeare, I mean, I love Shakespeare. I do. For the sonnets mostly. And, I think if you ask me in 3 to 5 years, if I've, at that point found a girlfriend and or fiance, whatever may happen, then I'd probably say Shakespeare. But right now, in my spirit, I feel Tom Petty would be the coolest car ride companion. And I would picture us driving down to PCH or even the what's that one in New York with all the trees and stuff, the highway down there. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's the one, right? Like,
Swing and a miss for me too.
But yeah, man,
Anything scenic. I mean, anything that
I think the other reason why I chose Tom Petty is that he's an American, and those other guys are Brits. Is Anthony Hopkins a Brit?
I can't confirm that. I do not know.
Okay.
So,
I
Silence
just
of the
feel
Lambs, but yeah, I don't know.
I just watched that movie again, and I think I mentioned that in the
You did.
thing.
You did.
But I wanted to give a shout out to the new Puss in Boots too, while I still have time, because I forgot to mention that. And that movie, if you like Shrek, you're gonna love this movie. And this is like, I was like, oh, what am I doing? And going to the theater to watch Puss in Boots. And then the theater started getting packed, and I was like, what's going on? I know I'm rambling here, but
No, that's okay. That's okay. But it's So it's amazing how when we talk about art, it's hard to stop talking about art. Do you know what I mean?
True.
And you've given us a lot. And I think I echo everybody else's sentiment when I say keep doing what you're doing. I'll post your Instagram in the in the show notes, and you just, as they say, rock on, Jack.
You too, Fox. Thanks for having me.
This has been a lot of fun. For Jack, this has been episode 69 of the What's Your Inspiration podcast. We will talk with you all later. Take good care.
You have been listening to the What's Your Inspiration podcast with Fox Beyer, because impact on each other is the greatest currency you could ever have.